a new friend of mine from Tangent, Oregon, a late model pilot out that way. Out west, we got a West Coaster on the program, Mr. Trevor Glaser. Trevor, you with us?
Yeah, I'm with you.
Well, you guys seem to not get as much of the publicity as the guys east of the Mississippi in the late model scene. So what's the scene like out there?
In Oregon, we actually have quite a few cars. The Labor Day weekend here, just 2 weekends ago, we had 50 cars at one racetrack. We don't have a whole lot of racetracks, but we still have a pretty good car count. So we don't get a whole lot of publicity up in Oregon until we start heading down into California. They get a little bit more play time down there, and then when we get a race with some of the big boys down in Arizona in January, and Mars and those guys will come out for Vegas races and whatnot. But we got quite a few cars up here, and we've been a little bit behind the times. We didn't take our sideboards off, believe it or not, until 2005, I believe, was our first year of racing actual national rules type deal.
Now, I know up there, asphalt is pretty big, and they do a lot of the that outlaw figure eight racing up there, don't they?
Oregon, for the most part, there's not we've got Roseburg has got a asphalt racetrack that some of the bigger series come to, but nothing like trucks or anything. But really, all the asphalt racing's up in Washington for whatever reason.
That's right, up there near. The only reason I ask is because I know that they use sideboards, and I didn't know if it was just something that you guys are used to seeing, and that's why you run them.
I think it was just all throwback from old school. Back when you guys used to run them, we just never changed.
Yeah.
So it put the Oregon guys behind quite a bit, because all summer we'd race with boards on, and we didn't run them all the way down to the nose. There was, you could be. It just had to be behind the seat, But we'd run big, huge spoilers, and our sideboards could be 60 inches off the ground behind the seat. So, we ran that up till 2004. So we were at a pretty big disadvantage. We'd take our stuff off and then go race with the Californian guys and head down to Casa Grande. But we were always a little bit off because we were racing with a big old crutch all the time. But once we took that off, then we started getting a whole lot more competitive because we were racing that way all the time.
Now, you guys you're not a stranger to the bigger, the East Coast guys, the World Outlaw guys, the Lucas guys. You guys have been down to like Tucson to race in the Wild West Shootout, and you've raced against some of the guys out east. What's it like when you get to race with the bigger names in the sport?
It's an eye opener. I love going to those races because you end up learning so darn much. You can't, you don't know where you're at until you go down there and they blow your doors off, and then we're always a whole lot faster at the end of the week than we are at the beginning. So and they do it for a living. They know what they're doing, and they're never very far off. And that's, they end up. We've got, for the most part, everybody's got the same equipment now, which wasn't the case 15 years ago. But everybody's got the same equipment. They just beating us in the pits and knowing how to make their cars do what they wanted to do without taking a lot of time, and making a lot of mistakes in the pits. So Tucson, that last couple of years, I just can't get a hold of that place. But I was hoping they were going to open Casa Grande back up. We were pretty competitive at that place.
Now, 2 years ago, they had a good handle on that racetrack at Tucson, and it was my first time out there this past January. And the first night I was out there was good racing, and I thought, well, if they're going to do the same thing, hopefully it'll be a different track tomorrow. And I don't think that they didn't repeat the performance from a year before, but still pretty good racing out that way. Now, what is your home track? And I understand you're leading the points, right, at your track?
Yeah, Willamette Speedway in Lebanon, Oregon, is my home track, and that's pretty much where late models have all came from in Oregon and Washington. All the late models. That's kind of it's the home track for pretty much everybody. The other racetracks kind of started getting into late models here more in the last 10 years. But the sprint car deal is kind of slowing down out here for the 360 the 360 sprints are dwindling in numbers, and for the weekly shows they end up having pretty good traveling circuit, but the weekly shows is dwindling down, so the late models are getting into more racetracks out here.
Now, we talked offline earlier, and I was trying to learn a little bit about the scene out there, and you mentioned that earlier in the interview that there's plenty of cars out there, but you mentioned in a previous conversation with me that there's a lot going on when it comes to tracks and track ownership. Can you give me some more information about that?
Yeah, we've got about 5 racetracks out here, and Jimmy and Jerry Tram now I think are owning 4 of them. So they own Grace Harbor up in Elma, which is primarily a sprint car racetrack, but we race up there a couple times a year. Sunset Speedway in Banks, Oregon. They just purchased and dumped a whole pile of money into Willamette Speedway here. They bought it 2 years ago, and they really revamped it this last winter. And it looks like they got their hand on Cottage Grove Speedway, so they own 4 of the 5. And then, we got, or however many that is. Medford is the other racetrack we race at quite a bit. And those racetracks, those are the 5 racetracks that we would race at, and Medford's 200 miles south of us, and Elma's 200 miles north of us, and we gotta go quite a ways to just to get 5 racetracks where you guys got them stacked on top of each other back there.
Yeah, well, we're covered up now. What is the idea of one person or one entity owning all 5 tracks? Man, I don't know. There's some pros and cons there. What's the one thing that you would like about it, and maybe one thing you wouldn't like about it?
Yeah, I don't. It can't ever be good.
No.
They don't have to be nearly as open-minded if you own them all. You can tell. You can dictate what's going to happen. We end up getting 50 cars racing for $1,000. I don't know what you guys race back there for on a weekly show, but we get 40, 50 cars at one racetrack for $1,000. Where last year Cottage Grove would have 20, 25 cars at it, and Willamette Speedway would have 20, 25 cars, and you can kind of split forces up a little bit, and the racers end up making out a whole lot better that way. You got 2 winners instead of 1, but they're dumping a whole pile of money into Willamette Speedway. They rebuilt the grandstands and tore the walls out, and we just had World Outlaw sprint cars here for the first time a couple weeks ago, and they're really pumping a lot, and they're fusing a lot of money into it. I can't tell you that we're getting much of that back as racers, but and hopefully that changes, but that's yet to be seen.
Well, out this way, okay, as you can tell by my accent, I live in the South. So in the South,
yeah.
In the South, the racetracks are slick and greasy. Very rarely are they real tacky. And it seems like the Southern race car driver likes the black slick track. They move the car around more, I guess. The Northern guys on this side of the Mississippi like a heavy track. And the fans too. The fans seem to like the heavy tracks, this doesn't cover everybody in each region, but up there, what are the speedways like generally, and what do the drivers prefer?
Generally, we're pretty slick up here. Our clays they're pretty heavy, and they don't, they'll be, if you get it very sticky, it gets rough. And the new track prep guy, Chris Knopfinger over at Willamette, he's trying to make it a little bit stickier without getting rough, but it's a fine line, because if it gets very sticky at all, it starts to chunk out. But primarily we're slick, and I much rather it be slick, and then you end up, makes it more of a driver's track. But I think in a setup deal. But we normally are pretty slick. Elma's gets pretty sticky sometimes, but they've got that kind of figured out, because that place same deal. It gets real rough, but for the most part we're slick here. Because anytime you try and get it sticky, it chunks out and gets rough, and it just, you really have to pour a pile of water on it. We don't have the submoisture coming up, and like a lot of those racetracks where they water it once and it's sticky all night, we don't get that up here. If they want it sticky, they got to really pour the water to it, and it just doesn't end up working out very well. But for the most part, we're slick, and that's why I like it. I mean, we run pretty well at Vegas, and it's always a ice skating rink down there.
And the economy's been what it's been, and I'm sure it's affected y'all just as much as it affected us down here. Sometimes the car counts aren't what they should be at races down here. Sometimes the fans aren't there. What's the fans turnout been during the down economy?
This year's been really pretty good. The numbers have been, cutting back a little bit in the last couple of years, but it'll be interesting to see how it holds on. We got a big boost just because the racetrack's essentially brand new. It's been there for, I think they just had their 40-year anniversary here a couple of years ago. So it's been there for a long time, and it was getting a little run down, and now they tore it down. I mean, they took all the walls out and reconfigured the racetrack a little bit, and they got piles of concrete, and we got asphalt in the pits, and they spent a lot of money. So this year the fans have been great. We've had really good grandstands, and and we'll see how that holds on. I mean, and really for the most part, Willamette Speedway is the only place in town, so we don't have to split fans up to go to different racetracks. They only really got one place to go right now.
Well, we definitely got plenty to choose from around these parts and in the north. Well, all right. Well, Trevor, I appreciate you joining us. We wish you continued success in the pursuit of the championship. Before we let you get out of here, I want you to thank the sponsors you have and some of the crew that help you lead the points and on your way to a track championship.
Yeah, Corey Hill is my crew chief. He came on board because Dustin Dittman had been my crew chief for a long time, and he's racing modifieds now out of my shop, and he's doing pretty good. But Dustin Dittman helped me out all week, and Justin, his twin brother, Justin Dittman, my girlfriend Sarah, for putting up with me all the time. But I just got Bayer Crop Science. We're grass seed farmers out here, so I'm farming all summer long. But I got Bayer Crop Science to put their name on my car. Crop Production Services, Farmland Tractor, Mid Valley Farms is our farm, so they're on there. And Trackstar Race Cars for giving me a car to drive. Well, I paid for it, but it's a pretty good car.
Well, Trevor, we're going to keep tabs on you. We wish you continued success in the Northwest in the late model division, and hope to have you back on In the Dirt.
All righty. Just give me a ring. I'll come on anytime.
Trevor Glaser out of Tangent, Oregon. Thanks, man.
Thank you.